The title Breaking Bad is undeniably catchy, but does it truly fit the story of Walter White? A good person turning to a dark path? Yet Walt's journey blurs the lines between good and bad, leaving us questioning his true nature. Was he a good man who broke bad under pressure? Or was he always a bad person revealing his true colors when given the chance? Before entering the drug world, Walt lived a seemingly ordinary life as a high school chemistry teacher and a family man. He wasn't murdering anyone or cooking meth in that world, but does that make him good? The life never forced him to confront moral extremes, so it's hard to say if he was inherently good or just never tested. When the opportunity arose, Walt didn't just dip his toes into crime, he dove in head first, making choices that suggest a darker side was always lurking. This ambiguity is what makes the title Breaking Bad so intriguing yet debatable. If we call Walt bad, it feels like he loved his family after all. But if we call him good, it ignores the calculated cruelty he embraced. The truth lies in the messy middle, and that's where the show's genius lies. When we first meet Walt, he carries the heavy sense that the world has turned against him. Everywhere he goes, it feels like he's diminished. His in-law, his so-called friends mock him, don't take him seriously, and even his own students see him as a joke. At work, his boss treats him as if he's invisible, unworthy of respect. Piece by piece, all these small humiliations chip away at him, leaving him isolated, unheard, and quietly angry at a life that seems determined to overlook him. He believes that Gretchen and Elliot wanted him out of their company, Gray Matter, and that he was unfairly ousted. But as the story unfolds, we learn the truth. Walt chose to leave Gray Matter. The Schwartzes were gracious, not scheming, and Walt's belief that he was unfairly ousted is a delusion born of his own ego. Walt's self-centered belief that he's always in the right and the world is against him made him an insufferable jerk long before he ever recruited Jesse to cook meth and maintained a fierce stranglehold on his territory. Is he bad because of his choices, or was this arrogance always simmering beneath the surface, waiting for the right trigger? Calling him good feels like a stretch when his pride drives so much destruction. But labeling him purely bad oversimplifies the complex mix of his motives: family, power, and validation. What do you think? Was Walt a good guy pushed too far, or was he always a villain waiting for his moment? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's get this debate going. If you enjoyed this take, give it a like, subscribe for more, and share it with your fellow Breaking Bad fans. Let's keep the conversation alive. The series tells us that Walt is a teacher who gradually transforms into a drug lord. But it also makes it clear that he was always that arrogant, selfish, ruthlessly ambitious person who used people and thought he deserved more than what he had. Walt's cancer diagnosis was the push he needed to throw caution to the wind and embrace his true nature. As soon as he had nothing to live for, the villain in him came out. He didn't break bad, he just found himself in a position that allowed his inner monster to thrive. Throughout Breaking Bad, the show gave us plenty of clues that Heisenberg was never really an alter ego. It was just Walt's true self coming out. In Season 1, when Walt was supposedly still a good guy, starting on the path to villainy, he did plenty of bad things to prove he was never that good to begin with. He let Hugo, the school janitor, get fired to cover up his own crimes. He blew up Tuco's office, risking injury to innocent bystanders just to prove a point. And he was blackmailing and exploiting Jesse from the start. A brief flashback to Walt and Skyler's early married life showed that Walt was never humble. He was always covetous and ambitious. Season 3, Episode 13, Full Measure, goes back to the show the moment that Walt and Skyler decided to buy their house. Walt wanted something more extravagant, with more bedrooms and a bigger backyard. Wanting a bigger house isn't as bad as killing people, but it's a sign that Walt always felt he deserved more, and that he was so greedy that nothing would ever be good enough, even when he had a storage locker full of cash. It's good that Breaking Bad made it clear. It could have been left as subtext, but then the character could have been misinterpreted. The entire premise of Breaking Bad was that Walter White started cooking crystal meth to make money so he could provide for his family after he was gone. This feeling that he had limited time left and wanted to ensure his wife, son, and unborn daughter's future was the driving force behind all the bloodshed, murder, and deceit that followed. This was the biggest lie that Walter told himself. The truth was that Walter took a strange sense of pride from his criminal behavior, giving him a sense of accomplishment that he had never felt anywhere else in his life. In Breaking Bad Season 4, Episode 6, Cornered, Walter White delivers one of the show's most chilling lines to Skyler, his wife, as she voices her fear for his safety amid Gus Fring's growing threats. Skyler, alarmed by the escalating danger of Walt's meth empire, urges him to admit he's in over his head. Walt, bristling at the implication of weakness, snaps back with a declaration that lays bare his transformation. "Who are you talking to right now? Who is it you think you see? I am not in danger, Skyler. I am the danger. A guy opens his door and gets shot, and you think that of me? No, I am the one who knocks." This moment isn't just a dramatic flex, it's a critical piece of the puzzle in understanding Walt. The "I am the danger" speech reveals that Walt's actions were driven by a need to dominate, to feel powerful, and to revel in his Heisenberg persona, not by selfless devotion to Skyler, Walt Jr., or Holly. Why Walt says, "I am the danger"? Walt's speech is a reaction to Skyler's concern, which he perceives as an attack on his authority. At this point in Season 4, Gus Fring has tightened his grip, killing Victor, threatening Walt's family, and sidelining him in the meth operation. Skyler's worry, while rooted in love, feels patronizing to Walt, who's already grappling with emasculation under Gus's control. Walt is reclaiming his power, rejecting the idea that he's a victim. He's not just reassuring Skyler, he's asserting dominance over her and their crumbling marriage, insisting that he controls the chaos, not Gus or anyone else. But this moment goes deeper. The speech is Walt embracing his Heisenberg identity, the ruthless alter ego. It's no coincidence that this comes after he's already killed Gus's dealers and orchestrated Gale's murder. Walt isn't breaking bad here. He's admitting he's been this way all along, thriving on the thrill of being the one who knocks. The family provider excuse was a convenient mask, but in Cornered, that mask slips, revealing a man driven by ego and pride, not love. Tying it to the biggest lie. Walt's claim of cooking meth for the family was a lie he told himself and others. If his goal was truly to secure Skyler, Walt Jr., and Holly's future, he wouldn't need to boast about being a feared kingpin. Even in Season 5, Episode 7, Say My Name, Walter White's descent into darkness hits a brutal peak when he kills Mike Ehrmantraut. After a heated argument, Walt shoots Mike in the abdomen, leaving him to bleed out on a riverbank. Why? It boils down to Walt's towering pride and insatiable need for control. Mike, ever the professional, insults Walt and refuses to hand over the names of his imprisoned associates, names Walt wants to orchestrate their murders in prison. Seeing Mike as a threat to his empire and stung by the disrespect, Walt's ego drives him to pull the trigger in a rash, devastating act. Was this Walt breaking bad under pressure, or was it the real Walter White, prideful, ruthless, and desperate to dominate, finally laid bare? The show sets us up to think Walt's choices are about survival or family, but moments like this suggest something darker. In Season 5, Episode 14, Ozymandias, Walter White delivers a devastating blow to Jesse Pinkman. While held captive by Jack Welker's gang, moments before Jesse's life hangs in the balance, Walt confesses something horrific. He could have saved Jane Margolis, Jesse's girlfriend, but chose to watch her die. This revelation isn't a moment of remorse. It's a calculated, spiteful act meant to emotionally destroy Jesse. Was Walt's confession the ultimate proof of his bad nature, a final twist of the knife driven by malice? Or was there a flicker of something else, guilt, desperation, or even a warped attempt to assert control in his crumbling world? In the final episode of Breaking Bad, Walter White revealed the biggest lie he ever told, and the lie that the series itself told with its iconic title. Breaking Bad ended with Season 5, Episode 16, Felina. After fleeing to New Hampshire and living under a new identity for months, Walt decided to return to Albuquerque to settle his old scores. He killed all his surviving enemies, he found a way to get what was left of his blood money to his family, and he freed Jesse from a life of meth-cooking servitude. Before Walt met an untimely end in the Breaking Bad finale, he got one last moment with every major character. He poisoned Lydia, he watched Walt Jr. come home after school, and he saved Jesse after originally planning to kill him. Ahead of his fateful trip to Jack Welker's compound in a car rigged with a machine gun, Walt stopped by for a final conversation with his estranged wife, Skyler. And this might be the most important scene in the entire series. This conversation confirms that the thesis set up in Breaking Bad's first episode was built on a falsehood. Walter's conversation with Skyler in the finale confirms he never broke bad. Walt didn't get corrupted, he just gave in to his true nature. When Walt visits Skyler in the Breaking Bad finale, he tells her why he got into the meth business in the first place. Both Skyler and the audience think they're in for another tired monologue about how Walt only did what he did to provide for his family, and he's really a good guy deep down. At that point, Walt had beaten that dead horse into the ground. But instead of rehashing the same thing he's been saying since the beginning, he reveals the real reason he became a drug lord, and it had nothing to do with his family. He tells Skyler that he did it for himself. He enjoyed being the best at something, so he kept at it even after he'd made more money than he could ever spend in a lifetime. In the beginning, Breaking Bad set itself up as a show about someone slowly losing their morals and their humanity as circumstances force him down a dark path. As Jesse puts it, he just decides one day to break bad. But that wasn't really it. Rather, it was a show about Walt enabling himself and showing who he really was. It was frustrating to see how Walt justified his horrid actions in the name of family. And that's why it was so satisfying in Breaking Bad's finale when Walter admitted to Skyler that he did it for me. Walt's confession that he continued cooking meth because he was good at it and it made him feel alive was a cathartic moment of honesty from a man whose natural impulse was to lie through his teeth at every turn. While Walter could never fix the once happy family life he had broken, he could at least honor his wife with the truth. Walter White's journey in Breaking Bad is a chilling unraveling of a man whose lies and ego destroyed everything he touched. It started with his chilling declaration to Skyler in Cornered, asserting, "I am not in danger, Skyler. I am the danger. I am the one who knocks." A boast driven by his need to reclaim control and embrace his Heisenberg persona amid Gus Fring's threats, revealing early on that his actions were about personal power, not family protection. This hubris escalated when he killed Mike Ehrmantraut in Say My Name, shooting him in a fit of rage after Mike called out Walt's pride and refused to hand over the names of his imprisoned associates, a needless martyr born from Walt's wounded ego and desire to eliminate loose ends. Walt then lied to Jesse, insisting Mike was alive and fine in gliding overall, a deception to keep his former partner compliant and under his thumb, even as Jesse grew suspicious. The betrayal deepened in Ozymandias, where Walt broke Jesse irreparably by confessing he watched Jane die without intervening, a spiteful act of emotional torment meant to crush Jesse's spirit while captive under Jack Welker's gang. Finally, in Felina, Walt admitted to Skyler the core truth. "I did it for me. I was good at it, and I was alive," exposing that his empire was never for the family, but for his own thrill. A confession that came too late to heal the devastation he inflicted on Skyler, Walt Jr., Holly, and Jesse. Walt didn't break bad, he was the danger all along, his deceptions tearing apart his partner and family in a web of self-serving lies. What do you think? Was Walt's "I am the danger" speech to Skyler a turning point, or just the start of his lies? Did killing Mike and lying to Jesse about it make him irredeemable, or was breaking Jesse with the Jane confession his lowest? And how satisfying was his final admission to Skyler that it was all for himself? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's dissect Walt's deceptions. If this deep dive resonated, hit that like button, subscribe for more Breaking Bad breakdowns, and share with your fellow fans to keep the discussion going.